show 1 minute, so let me know when we're ready.
We're on.
We're on? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Today's September 11th, 2020. It's 9:30 a.m. We'll start a work session. Just remind everyone that there'll be no decisions made here today. Just go over the line, or not the line items, but the agenda items. First item on the agenda is the audit.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't have anything on Friday's agenda. The item that's on there has already been discussed previously, so my items are nothing.
Okay. All right. Next item we have is the treasurer.
Okay, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning. Really? Good morning, guys.
Good
morning. What I have on the agenda today is that I brought up the deferred tax again. There's been some change in the regulations and I wanted y'all to know. But since I talked to Jim Tyree, I'm gonna let him explain a little bit, just because I feel like y'all need to consider some of the changes, and I believe that he needs to address that.
Well, good morning.
Morning. That's sort of like that old Jerry Clower joke. This is so simple, I'm gonna have the county attorney.
Yeah, let's maybe stump the county attorney. So after y'all's last meeting, when you briefly discussed this, the Treasury Department and the IRS came out with guidelines, which I will say I have not read. I think I just talked with Michelle Arsenault, and I think she's probably read the guidelines for the payroll tax deferral. I have read an article or two about them, and my understanding from all that is that it basically puts the burden on the employer to make sure that the payroll taxes get paid, next year at tax time. So, and I had just assumed that, if you elected to defer, then, come income tax day, it'd be kind of like self-employment taxes where you just owe, X number of dollars extra. But it's going to be the county's, from our understanding, will be the county's responsibility to make sure that's paid. And so Ida had shown me, I don't have it with me, but a form that if y'all elect to do that the employees could fill out that would say, either A, they're not gonna do the deferral, or B, they will do it, but they understand beginning January 1st, in between January 1st and I think April 30th is the deadline to repay, that they will have deducted out of their paycheck that deferral amount. So, then to me, you're really not getting anywhere, because you're going to basically be getting double FICA taken out of your check come January. But anyway, that's kind of the Reader's Digest version of this deal. And as I said before, the Congress would have to enact any law to forgive those payments, which I think is probably unlikely given that it funds the Social Security system, and also unlikely given that the coronavirus stimulus bill that they put on the Senate floor failed. It couldn't even pass the Republican-controlled Senate, so I think it's highly unlikely that you're going to see an actual forgiveness of the taxes. So anyway, having said that, if y'all vote to do that, I guess then Ida would present each employee with that form to make the election and to basically agree to have that amount taken out of their paycheck come January. So.
Okay.
I just want to say that I did play with the payroll system, and I'm able to do what it needs me to do, as far as I did a test on me and Monica, and we're able to do it. Again, the problem is that if an employee leaves during the middle of the year, or at the end of the year, then the county's going to be responsible.
Right.
And that, when
Yeah,
I
that's
read that, that was my concern, that I felt. And just for the record, Jim, it has been voted on, so it's a go as
Okay.
of for today.
Okay.
Last court, they approved it, so I'm just bringing it back to the court. Again, it's not a payroll issue for me, but I just wanted the court to be aware that we might have a liability
So how many months we're gonna give them to pay it back?
from January till April the 30th, like Jim just said.
And we did, what we approved was to give the employee an option. We didn't approve that they had to do it or couldn't do it. We just approved to allow the employee to choose whether they wanted to do it.
Also, Judge, I did have a memo, and that's what Jim was referring to, that I put on there that they chose to do it, and this is what you're agreeing to based on the regulations that are here, that we know of as of right now. Heck, it could change, in a couple of months, we don't know. But the IRS has not agreed to forgive it, or, it's gonna take Congress to do it, but, again, we don't know what they're gonna do, so I just want the court to be aware of it and understand our liability.
Okay.
And going back to if the employee left before January 1st, I think there's also a provision in that form that we'd take it out of their last paycheck,
Yes,
correct?
yes,
So,
yes, sir. Yeah, I've tried to cover all my bases, but, I just felt like with the liability, I needed to bring it back to you.
All right. Anything else?
No, sir, that's all I have today.
Okay.
Okay, so now that you've listened to all this is the firm and all that, I think even if something employees decide to do it, I think if you come April 1st, you look at your thing for some of the employees taking it all back out of their paycheck. So, it's a scary thought.
Any other discussion? All right. Herb, would you look out and see if there's a gentleman from Johnson Controls out there? Please.
Thank you, guys.
No? Okay. Then I'll skip down to the Petersburg EMS run and financial report. For July of 2020, they had 9 dispatches, 7 transports, 2 non-transports, 7 billable runs. So, they had total revenue in July $980.63. Total expenses $9,530.03 for a difference of a negative $8,549.40. Any questions or comments on the Petersburg EMS report? I also have August run. They had 2 dispatches, 2 transports for the month of August 2020. Their total revenue in August was $6,221.44. Their total expenses were $7,000.65 for a difference of a negative $779.21. So that will be the Petersburg EMS reports. Any questions? Jim, on your items, what we thought we would do is do 1 and 3 and save 2 for the end, and that way. So, next item is county attorney.
so let's see. The first item is on the wind farm in the southeastern portion of the county. You may remember that we originally did the abatement agreement with, I guess, what I call the local group of people, which was, I can't even remember the LLC's name, but, and then they sold it, and then ultimately, Excel Energy acting through LLC called Hale Petersburg Wind LLC bought the project, and then we assigned the abatement agreement to that entity. And then Excel, at some point in the last year or so, of course, Excel completely owned Hale Petersburg Wind, and basically they've sort of reabsorbed the LLC back into, and actually it's not even Excel, it's Southwestern Public Service Company, so they've kind of absorbed that back into SPS, and so what they're asking to do is for you to approve, and this really should have been done prior to their doing that, but I will say there is a provision in the with assignment provision in the abatement agreement that to me would allow this an opposite thing. In other words, if SPS owned it and then said we're going to create this LLC over here, you could I think do it that way under the agreement. And I think that's how they were reading it, even though I think it's backwards. But so they're asking you to approve that. Oh, I guess I should have had this out to begin with. I've been in contact with their attorney from Baker Botts, and he drafted this, I guess what we're calling an amendment. You can call it an assignment, you can call it an amendment, either one, I guess. It doesn't really matter. And it basically just recognizes the transfer of the ownership of the wind farm over to SPS. In doing all this, we've kind of discovered a couple of things. The first way, of course, when we started talking, I said, well, they're supposed to send us a certificate of commercial operation to trigger the abatement period, which hadn't been done. And we talked about that, and I said, I don't know if the figures we were getting from the appraisal district this year had their taxes abated, or if they were saying we didn't know that it started, so they were being figured in as far as tax revenue. Melinda found out that no, the figures y'all have gotten and operated on as far as budget abated the wind farm taxes, so that wasn't included. Excuse me. But what we found out is they actually were abated last year as well. So because apparently they had, I guess, nearly all of their investment in December of 2018, and so kind of unbeknownst to us, the appraisal district said, well, do you want to go ahead and start that? And they said, sure, naturally. So what they are proposing to do, if you approve this, is to say, this also recognizes that the abatement started January 1st, 2019. So this would be year 2. And if you'll recall, they're supposed to be making payments in lieu of taxes each October. The first 5 years is $1,000 per megawatt, and I'm still waiting to get that megawattage number. It's at least 300 megawatts, I think. It may be a little more. So they actually owed us that payment last October as well. So they're proposing to this October 1st make a double payment, so $2,000 times however many megawatts. And so approving this basically would recognize the assignment and the transfer of the ownership, get the pilot payments caught up, and put us in year 2 of the abatement period. So, y'all have any questions?
Could we get a payment up front before we sign anything?
Well, I can.
When they're ready, to get it ready.
Yeah. Yeah, you can, absolutely. So,
believe there's 478 megawatts in that farm.
I was thinking there might be, so you're looking at about, I guess, 950 something thousand.
Because there's
so.
229,
230, isn't it?
239. Yeah, so twice.
Yes.
So I guess that's the good news out of this whole thing is we'll get a chunk of money, but.
I can't believe that the appraisal district bumped the wall like that.
Yeah. So, you
Because
know,
we called them. I asked her to call her because we were wondering about that. We even talked to Brian Kuhn in 19. So,
no. So, that's what I'll be presenting to you Monday. If you know, you could. I guess there's several different ways you could approach it, and if you want to talk about anything too much depth, I'd probably want us to go into closed session for that. But
just to summarize, this will sort of square us up.
this kind of gets everything squared up, and I think the good thing about it is like I say, it does put you, 8 years closer to getting full taxes on the thing. So.
Any other questions, Jim, on that? All right. Jim, like I say, we'll go into closed session at the end, so if you want to do item 3 now.
Okay. And then, sorry, I got too much. Okay, so item 3, as you recall, the county is acting sort of as a, I don't know what you call it, grant recipient for the Halfway Water Supply Corporation for the community block grant from the Texas Department of Agriculture to rehab their to drill a new well and then rehab an existing well. Chester Carthel has been acting as the engineer on that project since it started, I guess, and there has been quite a few issues with him, namely at this point that we can't get any communication or any more work done to finish this up. The grant period was extended last year till November 1st of this year. And basically all work under the contract has to be, or under the grant agreement has to be done by November 1st, and the wells pretty much have to be online and producing in use in order to fulfill ultimately the county's obligation under the grant agreement. The new well's been drilled, and all that lacks on it is to be permitted by TCEQ, and there's some additional tests that have been identified that need to be run as far as some of the mineral content, and I think a corrosion test, and that may be about it. There might be another test, but anyway, which is basically, some of that requires some engineering calculations to do that. And that's been basically due and owing since March. TCEQ sent a letter to Mr. Carthel in March about what was needed to get that finished. The other thing lacking on this project is to rehab the existing well, and that was supposed to have been, Mr. Carthel was supposed to get the, plans and everything ready to go by basically the first part of September, or in August maybe. Anyway, it's past the time. And then it was supposed to be let out for bid and awarded, and actually by now it should have been in the process of being completed. And there's only, from our understanding, that this is only maybe 7 days of work. It's not a huge project, but you've got to follow all the steps to hire somebody to do the project, and then of course there's some follow-up work, obviously, with TCEQ and things like that. So the short version of the story is what we'll be asking you to consider on Monday is, the first thing is to authorize me to send a notice to Mr. Carthel to terminate his services under the contract with him for cause, based on his failure to discharge his duties under the contract. We did send him, I should mention this, we sent him a letter back in August about this, asking after we had kind of missed the deadline for this second phase to be underway. And it was delivered certified mail, and we have not heard any response, neither myself nor Public Management, which is the group that's kind of riding herd on this project. Or I guess the judge hadn't had anything. I kind of gave several options to contact, so that hadn't happened. So that's the first thing, is to consider discharging him. The next thing will be to authorize Public Management to follow the appropriate procurement procedures to get another engineer hired to finish everything up. Now, they've talked to TCEQ and to the Department of Agriculture, and they are confident that both agencies will work with us as far as getting the new well online and permitted, and then to TDA's part in this would be to hopefully extend the grant period another time, so that we can get this finished. The idea is that we need to get the new well up and running regardless, and like I say, that's a pretty short, easy thing to do, and can be done probably actually before November 30th. The second part obviously is going to take some time, and we probably can't get everything completed by then, so we would need the extension. But once we get, if y'all approve to let Mr. Carthel go and then to go out for a new engineer, then Public Management can go back to the Department of Agriculture and say, here's the steps we're taking to get all this straightened out, and ask for the extension. And we can find that out. If we can't get the extension, then we can just basically complete phase one, the new well, and that's it. And the only harm to the county in that situation, in any of these scenarios, would be that in future grant applications we'll have some point deductions to begin with because of the failure to get this whole thing done. But the way we're going, if we just, kept going like we are and didn't get it finished and didn't do anything to try to get everything straightened out, then we would most likely owe an administrative penalty as well, which, as long as we're going this route and trying to, getting a new engineer and trying to get things back on track and get at least the first phase done, and hopefully the second phase, then there wouldn't be any administrative penalties. It would just be basically, the grant would end and that'd be it. So there's some folks here from the Water Supply Corporation, if y'all have any questions of them.
Also, Jan Torres from Public Management.
Oh, yes, yeah, I'm sorry.
But, do y'all have anything you'd like to offer to what Jim said?
I just have some additional information for the procurement part of it. And so if the court does decide to go ahead and terminate the engineer, then they talked about the procurement phase. And so what the Commissioners Court would need to do is put a committee together. And so that would be like 4 individuals. One would need to be an elected official, so that would be the judge. And so they would review the proposals then, and we would need to put an ad in the paper to advertise for the proposal opportunity for an engineer, and then plus provide some information in regards to 5 different possible engineers that the committee would select. And so I have this information that I can go ahead and distribute to you, along with a listing of possible engineers, and then looking at the list that our company works with throughout Texas. There happen to be 5 in Lubbock, and then, so I don't know if you want to choose a Lubbock engineer, but that would be readily available for you. So can I go ahead?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Did you have anything else, Jan?
I guess the question is, the soonest we could get this ad into the paper would be like on the 17th. We would supply it to the newspaper this month and then advertise on the 18th if the court decides that they want to move that quickly on it. So
Okay.
just, is that right?
When we make it, we'll meet on Monday at 9 and make a decision at that
Okay.
time. And so, you're welcome to be there, be here Monday, or,
Okay.
as soon as court's over, I'll contact you.
Okay, thank you.
Benny, do you have anything you want to say?
Judge, Commissioners, it's kind of disappointing that Chess kind of left us high and dry all at once. All of us have worked with Chess at some point in time in the past on some different projects. Jan and her firm has worked with him on numerous projects. He's never done this before. It's kind of out of the ordinary for him, but it certainly put us in the binder of the Halfway Water Supply Corporation. They only have 2 wells. One is, they're beginning to have trouble with one of the other wells, so can't use this one till TECQ approves it. But, I was shocked that TDA allowed another extension, because that's very unusual for them. Once you get one extension and that's it, you're done. But if we can do this in a timely manner, it won't reflect negatively on the county. Because if I'm correct, return money or fail to complete the project, if the county was to choose to apply for Seth Ward or another community on their behalf, then the county would be docked on points. And we certainly don't want that, because that would probably keep us from getting another grant.
Well,
We appreciate y'all's cooperation in this, and, it just looks bad on all of us, but it's not really our fault. And I think TDA understood that, because Jan stayed in good contact with them, and they had realized what was happening. But anything that y'all do so we can move forward would be greatly appreciated. And I think Dale,
I agree. Thank you very much.
the water board had met, and they respectfully requested you cancel the contract.
That was the unanimous decision of the board, was to go ahead and proceed forward with that phase 3 where we terminate him and try to get the new thing done.
okay.
And then in addition to that, they were requiring those water samples that he said, and those were sent to the lab last night. They may not have got them until this morning, but they were en route last night.
Okay. Well, the whole deal's an unfortunate situation, but I think, like Danny said, we need to minimize our damage. We're in damage control now. Number one, Halfway needs the well, so we certainly want to do that for them. But we want to protect Hale County and our reputation as doing what we can. The circumstances are beyond our control, but I think if we didn't do something and just let things go undone, then it's gonna reflect poorly on us. But I think if we make decisions and try to finish the project out, it's not only gonna help Halfway, but it's gonna help Hill County. And I'd like to say, I appreciate everyone. Jim, thank you for stepping in. Jim has stepped in and helped us with this. Of course, Benny has helped us through the whole process, because this process, when did this process begin?
This was a 2017 grant, and so the procurement started in 2016, so it's been rather lengthy.
Yes.
Well, anyway, like I say, I want to tell Benny, and we appreciate him for staying on and helping us with this and being active and taking a vital role in that, as well as the water board out at Halfway and Dale and their interest. And of course, Jan and them have been on top of this since I took the office. So, like I said, I appreciate all y'all, and we'll make a decision come Monday and see where we're going to go with this. Thank y'all for being here this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Any questions? Anyone else have any questions before they leave? Okay, all right. Thank y'all.
Judge, if they sign in, they sign in.
Oh, you're welcome to stay, but if you do leave, if you would, before you leave, on the podium, there's a sign-in sheet. If you would sign in, please. Thank you. All right, Jim, we'll return to your item number 2 at the conclusion of this meeting. Next item on our agenda is the sheriff.
Good morning. I just have 3 items. The first one is the hiring of 2 new jailers. The second one is the renewal for our Leads Online, which is our program that CID uses, for a cost of $2,578 to be paid out of the investigation line item. And then my third item is the concrete pad the Dove generator set on. We had to have it extended. Concrete connection is out there, working on it. Extending it so we get the new pad, or the new generator set, and that's going to be a cost of $2,175.
Any questions of the sheriff? All right, then we'll take those under consideration. Thanks. Next item we have is Commissioner Precinct 4.
Just a request for a new hire, effective 8/24/20, 13/1, and 13/17.
Okay.
Kobe Miller.
Dave is the gentleman there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, have him come on in. Yeah. All right, we'll go back to my item number 1. The gentleman from Johnson Control is back with us. What we did is we decided, after looking at the proposals that was given by Johnson Control and by Anthony Mechanical, that they really weren't, the amount of services they were offering were not apples to apples. So I asked the gentleman from Johnson Control to, he told us last time he was giving us a basic level of service. And so I told him to raise his up to his 2nd level of service. And so he's here this morning, wants to talk to us about what that consists of. And then on Monday, since we're just getting that today, I thought what we might do is table it Monday, and so we can all look at it for a couple of weeks and then extend it on the 28th. Hey, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. We're ready for you. If you would sign in there on the form.
Yes, sir.
And then you can go ahead and do your presentation.
Here, closer to the microphone, please. Yeah.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good morning.
My name is Carlos Lopez, and I'm representing Johnson Controls. And I've brought a proposal for a service agreement on the chiller, building automation. I've included a boiler, fan-powered units, as well as your chill water pump, hot water pump, and some filter changes. The proposal, I've tabbed out some highlights here. On the second page, we're proposing a 3-year agreement with the first year starting at $7,130. On page 10, that's where we've got the equipment and the services provided. We've got your the chiller, the York chiller. We got 3 operationals and 1 comprehensive with the condenser coil cleaning. The boiler, we've got 1 operational, 1 comprehensive, which is 2 visits. Of course, that would be, the first comprehensive would be this time of year, the heating season, which is coming up closely, as well as another operational visit in like probably 3 to 4 months. The chill water pump, I've got 3 operationals and comprehensive to be along with the York chiller, and the hot water pump with the 2 visits as well as the boiler. The building automation system on here, we've got 2 operationals, that's 2 visits a year with an off-site backup. That's for, in case you ever lose any kind of your building automation system here, we have a backup off-site when you get you back online. On the next page, we got the VAV boxes, which we have 1 operational, where we can go in and make sure everything, all your valves are working correctly and everything's up to speed. We've got 2 filter changes per year. We will provide the filters, they're a completed filter, and we'll also look at the boxes as we're there at the same time. And we've also got a performance verification. This is a tool that we use on y'all's controls to check your inventory. We also make sure there's no updates that are needed, and it's a good tool so that way we can make sure everything's up to date on your building automation system. The following pages, I've kind of put highlights of what's included in the comprehensive and operationals. That way you can look and see what we actually perform the work to keep everything running efficiently, which helps keep your repair costs down. And that's pretty much it. On the last tab here, I just included in special terms or special editions that we will provide the filters twice a year. And we are Johnson Controls. We are the OEM for York and the Metasys program. So we believe that we'll be the right people for the job.
Okay.
If you guys have any questions? Another thing I'd like to add is that I know I presented this last month, but this one here, I've also got an agreement start date of October 1. That, you know, if that needs to be changed, just let me know, and we definitely can make a change if we need to.
Okay, well,
Didn't know.
anyone have any questions?
Only question I have is kind of what we're experiencing this morning. We have all different temperatures in this courthouse. Right now you go up some of them, clerk's office and so forth, it's freezing, the other ones are pretty comfortable. Will this eliminate some of that?
Yes, sir. We would go in and make sure your boilers, your boxes are working correctly. The building automation system will make sure that each room is working the way you want it to. If you're having issues in one cold spot, hot spots in others, our technicians can get that to running where it's evenly and fixed.
Well, I'm sure the girls would welcome that.
Yes, they would.
Well, I do know we dodged a bullet this summer. because we've got to get that coil system where it needs to be, because that pan in the computer room was holding a large amount of water. And if that thing would have ruptured or failed, we'd be in big trouble. So,
Yes, sir.
like I say, we need a maintenance agreement in place so that we have someone that is coming through and checking and making sure that everything's working the way it should be, and not wait until, the unit just quits working and we have to figure out why.
Yes, sir.
So-
No, I agree.
So like I say, what we'll do is I'll ask the court to take these and study them. We'll review, or we'll go over the items on Monday. And we'll either make a decision there, or we'll determine that we will continue to compare services and award on the 28th.
Okay,
Okay?
sounds great.
And so, any other questions or comments on that?
Judge,
Yes,
if I
sir.
may, so in Carville right now, our boiler's not working. I don't know if you notice these mornings, we ain't got no heat.
Okay.
And I don't know what's going on. I mean, the switch is on, but it ain't coming on. And I was gonna wait till I knew Carlos would be here and just let y'all know, our boiler's not working right now. We don't have any heat.
Okay.
If that is a concern, I mean, I understand this, aside the proposal, if you guys need any of my help, let me know. I can get somebody up here to take a look at stuff and get you guys going where you need to be and make you comfortable.
All right. Well, thank you, Carlos.
I do appreciate your time, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, before we go back to Jim's item, let's look at Monday's agenda. Melinda, did you want to say something about some of your stuff on Monday?
My first item for Monday is to approve the FY 2021 Tech Stop grant for routine airport maintenance program. And this is our annual grant that we do every year for all the maintenance work, where we receive 50% back of what we do out there.
Okay.
And so that's routine. And then on my next item is to approve and allow the county judge to sign the first contract renewal agreement for the statewide automated victim notification services. And this is our bond contract. We have a contract with the Office of the Attorney General for the bond services. And this is the vendor that actually provides those services, Apris Incorporated. And so they're the ones that we pay. We receive the money from the Office of the Attorney General, and then we pay Apris
Okay.
for the service, and it's done quarterly.
All right.
And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you. Ida, do you have anything?
No, sir?
All right. I show the county clerk, I need to get her to look at that because both of A and B look the same. And I'm wondering if one of them shouldn't be for the city
No,
of Plainview.
No, I think one's an agreement and one's the resolution.
Resolution, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right,
It's
so-
both with the school district, Judge.
Okay, all right. My mistake, like I said, they'll come to us with a agreement and a resolution between Hill County and Plainview Independent School Districts for the election. The only thing I'll have different, I'll have Health Center, ISD contacted me earlier this week in reference to the grant that we received. And he had requested some money from our grant. There's a provision in the grant that says that 75% of it has to be for PPE equipment, and then 25% can be for other things. And one of the other things is for school districts that can apply if they meet certain standards and request some money from the county. So we'll look into that and see what y'all want to do on that. The district attorney has items to reference personnel. Jim's back on the agenda. The sheriff, Commissioner Precinct 1.
I am going to put it out there for a waste management deal in the 7th Ward. I'm looking at putting in about 5 dumpsters.
Okay.
on a trial basis between now and the end of the year, just for household trash, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay. And then Commissioner Precinct 2.
Yes, sir, I'll be hiring an individual precinct two.
Okay. Then we have Jimmy's item, so. Any questions about Monday's agenda? If not, then we'll return to Jim's item on number 2, which is in reference to a closed meeting pursuant to section 551.087 to discuss or deliberate regarding commercial or financial information that the government body has received from a business prospect and that the government body seeks to have locate, stay, or expand in or near the territory of the governmental body, and with which the governmental body is conducting economic development negotiation, and to deliberate the offer of financial and other incentive to said business prospect. And so we'll go into closed session. We'll come back into the open session to close the meeting.